some type of service out here. But with all that being said, let's roll the footage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how quickly were you, like, just scramble mode then, coming over to the States, like pack a bag and go?
Well, yeah, I was already in, so I went from San Francisco to China, and so then I didn't really get to go back to Australia. So just from China, I was like, well, I already have some stuff back, so then just come back over here, back to America. So yeah, it was good. It all happened pretty fast, but as I said, super grateful for the opportunity.
Does it still feel chaotic now that you've been with the team for a day, or do you feel like a little bit settled now?
I feel a little bit settled. I have had a lot of sleep, which is great, so I think I've got over the jet lag a little.
The Indiana Fever recently acquired Chloe Bibby through a 7-day hardship contract, likely addressing roster needs following player injuries while maintaining their competitive position. Bibby addressed media representatives regarding her rapid transition to join the organization. The acquisition process unfolded swiftly for the Australian player. She traveled directly from China to the United States without returning home, bringing limited personal belongings. Despite the rushed timeline, Bibby expressed appreciation for the opportunity to compete at this level. After spending 1 day with the organization, Bibby reported feeling more comfortable with her new environment.
It lagged a little bit, so feeling good.
You had the chance to play against this Fever team.
Yeah.
What kind of your impressions then, and how do you feel like you can fit into what they do?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, really physical team, tough, fast-paced, and I like that fast, style. So I think that suits me a lot. Fast-paced, shoot through ball, and I think that's exactly what I do. So hopefully I can find my strides here and get into some rhythm.
Similar to what they've kind of instructed you that they hope you will do here?
Yeah, I think just as long as I bring some energy and fast-paced everything, and
Adequate rest helped overcome international travel fatigue, allowing her to focus on basketball preparations. Her previous encounters with the Fever provided insight into their playing approach. The team's physical, aggressive, and up-tempo style appeals to Bibby's preferences. She believes the fast-paced offensive system matches her skill set perfectly, emphasizing ball movement and quick decision-making. Integration requires developing chemistry with teammates while learning offensive schemes, though early interactions have been positive. Bibby's basketball background includes competition against most current roster members through college or professional matchups, despite never being teammates previously.
Energy and fast-paced everything, and just try find my shots within the offense, and just getting to know the girls and chemistry and stuff. It takes time, but to try and build that quickly, and everyone's been really good so far.
Do you have any familiarity with any of the players?
I think I've honestly played against everybody. I haven't played with anybody, but I think with a college, professional, something, there's some sort of tie nearly with everybody on the team, so that's good.
Beneficial at all to be on the road, like you have a bus ride, I guess, to kind of keep up on the scheme and all?
I guess so, yeah. Oh, definitely, for sure, on the ski out and the ski.
This familiarity should ease the adjustment process during her brief contract period. Road travel provides additional bonding opportunities with teammates. Multi-hour bus rides allow for relationship building and scheme discussion, contributing to faster integration into team culture and strategic systems. Regarding recent arrivals, Bibby couldn't recall her exact arrival date, estimating several days prior to media availability. The coaching staff emphasized maintaining practice discipline and intentional preparation, particularly focusing on upcoming Chicago matchups while building momentum for subsequent contests. Team development centers on consistent daily improvement rather than opponent-specific preparation.
Keep up on the scheme and all?
I guess so, yeah. Oh, definitely, for sure, on the ski out and the scheme and things like that. But I think it's a couple-hour bus ride, so get to know everybody a little bit better. It'll be good.
When did you get into town?
I don't even know what day it was. A couple days ago.
What do you feel like you guys were able to get accomplished today, going into a quieter week?
I think the discipline has to be maintained. So I think practice is just that. Showing up is one thing, but being intentional is another. So hopefully for us, it was about mentally knowing we need to be for Chicago, using that as fuel.
Practice sessions prioritize proper repetition and skill refinement, ensuring game performance reflects dedicated preparation work. Individual players seek rhythm through repeated quality practice attempts. The organization's defensive improvements have been notable throughout the season. Recent success against elite opponents like Las Vegas, featuring Aja Wilson, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray, demonstrated the team's defensive capabilities against high-caliber offensive players. Sustained defensive pressure forces quality opponents into uncomfortable situations and rush decisions. Defensive identity serves as the foundation for team success.
Using that as fuel for the game after that and the game after that, but really today was just making sure stacking days is important, not the opponent but us. So hopefully today was just about stacking the day and getting the right reps.
What's it feel like for you as you stack months of quality play after quality play, like we have seen. But what does that feel like?
You kind of hope that you don't jack it up from one. I think, literally you just really want to be, how can I say it? Stabilized, kind of neutralized.
Consistent defensive execution throughout complete games creates more winning opportunities than sporadic efforts. Previous seasons featured defensive struggles, but current personnel demonstrates genuine commitment to that end of the floor. The roster composition includes players genuinely invested in defensive responsibilities. Defense requires collective effort and individual buy-in from all participants. Maintaining playoff contention and competitive relevance demands consistent defensive focus, particularly given the team's transition-based offensive strengths. Several breakthrough moments occurred when players recognized their defensive capabilities.
Stabilized, kind of neutralized, and because of these reps are important, and as I build on, I think you guys get to see how good rhythm is starting to catch. So I think rhythm is important for players, let alone teams, and so individually I want to be rep after rep after rep and get the rep and get it right. And so when I get to the game, you guys get to see she probably worked on that a couple times, so that's the goal. That's always the goal. Get the reps so I can show who I am in the game.
Can you explain to us a few times this season, you feel like you guys' offense is at its best and most connected?
Film study sessions with coaching staff reinforce these realizations, showing players concrete evidence of their defensive success. These revelations provided confidence and motivation for sustained defensive commitment. Bibby's conditioning regimen includes football-style training methods focusing on footwork, speed, and agility development. These exercises emphasize directional changes, backpedaling techniques, and defensive positioning similar to defensive back training in football. The cross-training approach involves typical football workout routines adapted for basketball applications. Specific drills include angle taking, breakdown positioning, acceleration, and deceleration techniques that translate directly to basketball defensive movements.
Can you explain to us a few times this season, you feel like you guys' offense is at its best and most connected?
Yeah.
Your defense is good.
For sure.
Tosh said that last game as well. Have you felt that fluidity improve from end to end recently?
I think so. I think it was big for us for the Aces because, Asia Wilson is amazing, and so for us, being able to defend a player like that, let alone a team with Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray, that was big for us because, they could put the ball in the hole any kind of way. They're that good, and so when we noticed that, hey, get a little bit more pressure, a little bit this, a little bit that.
Initial attempts proved challenging, but consistent practice with football players provided valuable learning experiences. Training inspiration came from working with a football coach who incorporated sport-specific movements into basketball preparation. The program emphasized fundamental footwork and angular positioning that enhances defensive effectiveness on the basketball court. Coaching staff evaluation of Bibby emphasizes her floor spacing abilities and shot-making potential. Her size and capacity to create interior space for teammates add valuable dimensions to offensive planning. Early observations indicate strong study habits and offensive system comprehension.
There's a little bit of that. You make great players kind of second guess a little bit. So that's always our goal, but I think that defensive mindset is really it's our bread and butter, man. If we can defensively just be sound for a whole game, and it's easier said than done, I think we give ourselves way more chances of winning.
You guys have had some rough defensive seasons in your time here. Does this feel like one of the better defensive groups?
I think so. I think that it's all about having the right group of players that want to play defense. I think defense is always a one type of thing, and I think that right now.
Previous performances against Indiana showed Bibby's capabilities, though coaching staff missed that particular game due to personal obligations. Late season integration presents typical challenges, but Bibby's projected role simplifies the adjustment process. Her expected usage centers on floor stretching and perimeter shooting, requiring limited playbook complexity. Coaching staff plans to streamline offensive sets while maximizing spacing opportunities when she shares the court with interior players. Recent practice sessions address defensive consistency issues while emphasizing offensive execution and timing. The rare full-speed practice opportunity allowed for conditioning maintenance and strategic implementation despite the compressed schedule.
And they were like, fiction, truth. So this is the truth. It is absurd. Or, to be sure, Clark's a lot of work to do before she turns corner being the league's most exciting player, become the league's best player. In PER, whatever. This year, Clark struggling with injuries. They have a trio of generational talent guards who came into the league. First was Sabrina Ionescu. well, first it was meant to have been Kelsey Plum, but she was never that good. Sabrina was not Caitlin Clark good, and Paige Beckers is not Caitlin Clark good. Like, we can just be honest with that.
Recovery considerations become crucial with games scheduled every other day. Physical, mental, and emotional recovery prevents fatigue accumulation while allowing for tactical adjustments and skill refinement that the regular schedule typically prevents. Recent coverage from The Guardian regarding the WNBA raises questions about media reluctance to acknowledge certain realities within women's basketball. Honest assessment remains crucial for league development, yet current reporting often resembles promotional material rather than balanced journalism. The publication's All-Star Player Rankings placed Caitlin Clark 9th, a positioning that warrants scrutiny. While Clark certainly requires continued development to reach elite status, her current impact cannot be understated.
Good. Sabrina was not Caitlin Clark good, and Paige Beckers is not Caitlin Clark good. Like, we can just be honest with that. And also, Juju Watkins is not. Juju Watkins, what people don't realize, Juju Watkins might be, when it's all said and done, the most disappointing basketball player in the women's side ever. Like, I'm not saying Juju's going to be bad. She shoots 40% from the field. She will give you 25 points. Like, she is a free throw. Like, you watch Juju for a full game. She is a free throw. She's an inefficient free throw merchant who can't really shoot the three ball unless she's wide.
Despite dealing with injuries this season, her influence on viewership and attendance patterns demonstrates unprecedented market penetration. Generational talent discussions frequently include Sabrina Ionescu, Paige Beckers, and emerging prospects like Juju Watkins. However, statistical analysis reveals significant performance gaps between these players and Clark's production levels. Ionescu, while talented, hasn't achieved Clark's immediate cultural impact. Beckers similarly lacks the comprehensive skill set that distinguishes elite prospects. Juju Watkins presents an interesting case study in expectations versus reality.
Shoot the three ball unless she's wide open. And, like, that is the problem with Juju Watkins. Hell of a player. But, like, when we're putting her in the Beckers and Clark conversation, no. We're not doing that. We're not, like, I'm not even putting her in the Paige conversation, let alone the Caitlin conversation. Like, that is, like, for me, Hidalgo was better than Juju Watkins for the vast majority of their freshman and sophomore, or for a vast majority of their sophomore seasons. Like, Madison Booker's team was much better, but I think Juju's better than her. But Sarah,
despite considerable hype, her shooting efficiency raises concerns about long-term potential, converting approximately 40% from the field, while relying heavily on free throw attempts, suggests limitations in offensive versatility. Her three-point shooting remains inconsistent unless receiving wide-open looks, creating questions about her ability to perform against elite competition. Comparative analysis with other collegiate standouts reveals additional perspective. Hannah Hidalgo demonstrated superior performance metrics during comparable periods of their respective careers. Madison Booker's team success, while not entirely individual-based, provides context for evaluating overall impact.
vast majority of their sophomore seasons. Like, Madison Booker's team was much better, but I think Juju's better than her. But Sarah Strong, who's a year younger, is even better than Juju. So, it says here, fans got it wrong ranking Clark first and Ionescu fifth, but the players' vote were harsh on stars. An Olympian, Jackie Young was 12th, Kelsey Plum was 16th. For once, the media may have gotten it right, ranking her third. So they actually did call out the players. It says, is the league too dependent on Clark? It says here, the WNBA is headed towards highest average attendance ever, propelled by somewhat Clark, but beside the expansion Valkyries. But I'm like, if we're being honest here,
Sarah Strong, despite being younger, exhibits more complete skill development than many highly touted prospects. Fan voting versus player evaluations creates interesting dynamics within league recognition systems. Supporters ranked Clark first while placing Ionescu fifth, contrasting sharply with player perspectives that positioned Olympic veteran Jackie Young at 12th and Stewart at 16th. Media rankings placing Clark third suggest a middle ground approach between fan enthusiasm and peer assessment. League dependency concerns center around attendance and viewership data. While the WNBA approaches record average attendance figures, Clark's influence appears disproportionate to other factors.
if we're being honest here, the Valkyries thing is because it's in, like, Golden State, it's in San Francisco. Nobody watches the Valkyries on TV. That's the issue. Is, yes, their attendance numbers are good, but you're like, ratings drop when she's out injured, they don't fall through the floor. Man, minus 50% is crazy. And the scariest thing is that when Caitlin Clark is injured, other teams' views fall by less than Fevers do. Because the Fever are still the most viewed team without Caitlin Clark. But like when Caitlin's injured, people don't watch other teams. That is the scariest thing.
The Golden State Valkyries' expansion success stems partly from San Francisco market dynamics rather than purely basketball-related interest. Television ratings reveal more concerning patterns, with viewership declining approximately 50% during Clark's injury absences. The dependency issue extends beyond direct viewership of Clark's games. Other teams experience reduced audience engagement when she's unavailable, suggesting her drawing power affects league-wide consumption patterns. Chicago Sky viewership drops significantly during Clark's absences, while Dallas and other markets show similar trends. Even established franchises like Las Vegas struggle to maintain audience interest without marquee matchups involving Clark.
Because the Fever are still the most viewed team without Caitlin Clark. But like when Caitlin's injured, people don't watch other teams. That is the scariest thing about it. And it's like perhaps the fact Clark's not immediately established as the best player in the league has made people realize veterans. Like what are people talking about? You mentioned Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner's been garbage this year, no offense. Like this is just propaganda, truth fiction. Ironically, absolute truth. Absolute truth. The league is very much too dependent on Caitlin Clark. And they did a horrible job. They did a horrible job of trying to get people to watch other teams. The league is way too dependent on Caitlin Clark. Like, that is a fact. We've seen it in the viewership. It falls 50%. Like,
this concentration of interest creates sustainability questions for long-term growth trajectories. While the league maintains higher baseline viewership than previous seasons, the dramatic fluctuations tied to individual player availability suggest structural vulnerabilities. Television contracts, particularly those with opt-out clauses after 3 years, could face renegotiation challenges if audience patterns remain unstable. Attendance figures outside major markets tell a different story than promotional materials suggest. Chicago's recent game against Minnesota drew modest crowds even when held at larger venues. The Lynx organization couldn't justify opening upper-level seating sections for certain matchups, indicating limited local interest beyond specific star attractions.
Viewership, it falls 50%. Like, viewership of the Chicago Sky falls when Caitlin Clark is injured. Viewership of the Dallas... less people watch Paige when Caitlin Clark is injured. That's the scariest thing about this. Less people watch these other players. Like, nobody watches the Aces play basketball, by the way. No one watches the Aces unless it's AJ versus Angel or AJ versus Caitlin. Like, nobody watches any of these other teams, and that is a fact. Nobody cares. The league is way too dependent on Clark. And that's not saying the league is nothing without Caitlin Clark, because that's not true. But the league...
Officiating standards receive mixed assessment in current coverage, though on-court incidents suggest inconsistent enforcement. Recent physical altercations, including dangerous plays that went uncalled, demonstrate referee limitations rather than acceptable game management. Comparisons to historical NBA officiating controversies seem designed to deflect rather than address current problems. The Sophie Cunningham situation represents broader protective concerns for star players, though recent incidents involving other players suggest systemic rather than individual issues. Dangerous plays, including what observers described as wrestling-style takedowns followed by confrontational behavior, indicate that protective measures remain inadequate across the board. References to 1990s NBA officiating and Michael Jordan treatment appear to mischaracterize current concerns.
And that's not saying the league is nothing without Caitlin Clark, because that's not true. But the league is far too dependent on Caitlin Clark. Like, all the growth trajectories, it's really, really hard for the players to say, oh, it's going to keep going like this, because it's way too dependent on Caitlin Clark. Like, they do fall through the floor. Like, we can't just lie. The Golden State Valkyries are literally, and the New York Liberty, the Golden State Valkyries are Valkyries. The New York Liberty are in New York and they're a pro sports team. There's a lot of people in New York. Other than them and the Fever, nobody watches. Like, the Sky can't even...
The issue isn't excessive protection for stars, but rather basic player safety enforcement. Drawing parallels to decades-old controversies deflects from immediate problems requiring attention. Media coverage patterns suggest promotional priorities over journalistic analysis. While the league occupies a stronger position than 5 or 6 years ago, current growth trajectories show concerning dependency patterns. Viewership increased dramatically with Clark's emergence, but has declined during her injury periods, creating questions about sustained momentum. Long-term injury concerns for key players could significantly impact television negotiations and collective bargaining discussions.